Il duello tra Fangio per l'Alfa e Ascari e Gonzalez per la Ferrari si protrasse fino al 50° giro. Solo in quel momento, quando Fangio concluse al 54 Gonzalez, si ebbe la certezza che l'Alfa aveva conquistato un'altra volta il campionato del mondo. Con questa vittoria, la 159 usciva imbattuta dalla scena delle grandi competizioni automobilistiche. Il suo motore, però,
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2018 career mode, and welcome to the start of Season 8, and we have got big changes for this brand new season. As you saw by that intro, the Alfa Romeo Sauber F1 team has evolved now in Season 8 to the Alfa Romeo Racing team to line up with what is going to happen in real life this year. We've got an email from our boss today, Frederick Vasseur, at the beginning of Season 8. Hi aarava, this season the team is being rebranded as Alfa Romeo Racing. After a massive year for the team last season, this marks a new era for the team moving forward and brings Alfa Romeo's name back to Formula 1 in a much more powerful way. We're all upset to miss out on both championships last season, but you gave it a noble effort and still established us in second place in both standings, and for this we thank you. And with this new Alfa Romeo partnership, we think we can do wonderful things together this season. We know you and Charles will do another great job this season. So yes, I have remained at the team, so is Charles Leclerc. Obviously both of us, we came in second place together in the Constructors' Championship. I narrowly missed out on the Drivers' Championship. If you guys did miss the ending of the finale of Season 7, then, well, obviously it's already kind of been spoiled, but definitely go check it out because it was an insane finale. Probably the craziest finale race I've ever had so far on this game. But obviously we did a great job as a pairing. There was no reason for either of us to really leave this team. Even though I felt like I probably would leave the team, I felt like I had unfinished business, you know, after the way Season 7 ended. And really, the pattern so far on this game has been that I've not left a team until I've won the championship with them, and I really felt sour that we didn't do it last season, so I want to give it another crack, and this season might be even more exciting with this new rebrand Alfa Romeo Racing car. But we've got some major challenges and hurdles this season, unfortunately, with Alfa Romeo Racing. You know, a new car means new problems, and so we got another email from Frederick Vasseur saying, hi aarava, unfortunately pre-season testing did not go as well as we all wanted it to. This season's car is radically different to last season, but because of this we had a few hiccups getting performance out of it. You'll notice that we've lost quite a bit of stability in the corners, as well as overall downforce due to the regulation changes. Of course, I did a fair bit to try and, you know, keep those R&D upgrades that we had, the allocation we had of the chassis and the aerodynamics, but unfortunately it clearly wasn't enough according to Frederick. And so, however, with our brand new Alfa Romeo branding deal comes extra funding. Alfa Romeo have been able to secure 4,000 resource points for us to develop the car rapidly in the opening part of this season. They've set us a task of winning a Grand Prix by the Canadian Grand Prix, and if we do that, they will commit a further 1,000 resource points for our season's challenge. So, the car may be a little bit on the back foot perhaps, and might have lost too much performance compared to our rivals of last season, but we've got 4,000 resource points, a nice cash injection effectively from Alfa Romeo as a brand because of this new rebranding for our team. So we can spend a lot of points on upgrades rapidly as we go on for the first few rounds basically, and as we enter the European season, the Spanish Grand Prix, I'm sure hopefully we'll find our feet and bring this car back to at least minimum where it was last season. And finally, the last email and update to go through for Season 8 is the driver changes for this season. This season some drivers have moved teams. Whatever the case, I'm sure you'll still be able to rise to the challenge. Driver changes include Lewis Hamilton to Renault. That's going to be him alongside Fernando Alonso. So the rivalry of Hamilton v Alonso in the same same car from 2007 will be re-sparked in the Renault here. Let's see how Lewis Hamilton fares. Obviously, Alonso's been there for at least a season now, so we'll see how that fight goes. Max Verstappen goes to Mercedes to fill in his slot. So Verstappen alongside Hülkenberg then in the Mercedes car. Carlos Sainz to Red Bull Honda now. Esteban Ocon to Ferrari. Kimi Raikkonen to Williams, and Sergei Sorokin to Toro Rosso. So obviously Hamilton vacated a seat in Mercedes. That kind of caused a domino effect of Verstappen to Merc, and then Sainz filled in Verstappen's seat alongside Pierre Gasly, who is the reigning world champion going into this season. And obviously Red Bull Honda are the reigning Constructors' Championships for 2 years in a row now, as obviously I won it in Season 6. They won it again in Season 7, unfortunately to my dismay, with the Sauber team last year, now Alfa Romeo. Ocon gets a call up to Ferrari, and in doing so Raikkonen moves to Williams then for maybe the last 3 years of his career, perhaps in this career mode. And then Sergei Sorokin, the Russian, is the one that got replaced by Raikkonen, and he actually jumps ships and goes to Toro Rosso, which could be quite a good seat for him, because the Toro Rosso was very quick at the end of last season, so a bit too quick in many aspects. So we'll see how Sergei Sorokin goes. But for us then at Alfa Romeo Racing, let's take a look at the R&D tree and see what kind of tasks we got to go with. Now, I was quite surprised. We're actually in the bottom 4 teams here. We're behind the likes of Toro Rosso, McLaren, and Ferrari on paper, apparently. Ferrari jumped up from the worst team on the grid to 4th best, apparently, over the winter from Season 7 to Season 8, which is really puzzling for me because I felt like I saved quite a lot. Obviously, the engine did not get reset, and we've still got the 2nd best engine on the grid, just a little bit behind Mercedes. But on the chassis and aero side, I saved over 50% of my, R&D tree, basically, and that was not enough to topple me to 3rd worst chassis on the grid there. Despite, you can see, we've done a lot of upgrades. We've saved a lot. We've done so many weight reduction upgrades, saved a lot of weight redistribution, and also an ultimate tyre wear upgrade. And also on the aero side, we've done the ultimate downforce upgrades, ultimate drag updates that we kept, basically the R&D kind of saving we did from Season 7 to Season 8, but still it wasn't enough, so we're 4th worst in the aero department. So definitely, like Frederic Rasseur said, we are going to lose some stability in the corners perhaps, but our engine is still great, so that's at least one thing. Maybe we can have a good race car, because in the race maybe our engine will allow us to overtake, but maybe in qualifying we'll be on the back foot. I don't know really. Obviously at this stage of the career mode, 8 seasons in, like was the case in last year's game, sometimes the R&D chart doesn't really tell you the full story. In reality, once you get out on a track and you're actually running the cars, things change a little bit. So let's take this with a pinch of salt. We may not be completely this bad, and on track we may be a little bit faster than the chart suggests, but that is how everyone reset there. Renault apparently have a march, so that's very exciting. Alonso versus Hamilton in the same car, and they've got the best car on the grid, so they might be battling out for the race wins there. You've got Red Bull remaining in 2nd place, with Mercedes in 3rd, and it looks like it's quite a tight battle actually towards the bottom end once again between the likes of Williams, Force India, and Haas, and apparently it's quite close between Toro Rosso and myself and McLaren, so we'll see how that goes. But there's nothing more to really say, but let's get into this season and start off Season 8 of the Australian Grand Prix. Now, for this season and the seasons onwards of this F1 2018 career mode, I'll be doing short qualifying, because obviously we're getting towards the real life season launching 2019. There's going to be other types of content I want to do on this channel, and just to save myself time recording, we're going to do short qualifying. And also, I will admit as well, this will also remove the annoyance of the qualifying glitch where the AI gain about 2 seconds when you fast forward, because in short qualifying I will be able to hopefully just go out on track every single time the AI do as well, and also I can afford to kind of just sit through and let the timer run through in real time rather than fast forwarding it. So that's the only other major change for this season, but let's get into it then. Going through our first run and flying lap, the car definitely feeling a little bit unstable in the corners. I can definitely feel the lack of downforce compared to this time last season in Season 7, but that's to be expected. But the engine, if you can even feel that kind of thing, does feel just as powerful. Obviously, it's the same engine, so I am confident that in the race, we should have a pretty good race car to overtake, but in qualifying here, I'm just not too sure. Across the line, though, we go up into P5 for now. As we go to the end, into our garage, we're going to go down the order a little bit. So it seems like we're maybe on the teetering edge, maybe of the bottom of the top 10, the kind of head of the midfield, it seems right now on pure pace. So like I said, the performance chart, you know, 8 seasons in, it doesn't always tell the true picture. I mean, remember last season how fast the Toro Rosso was so many times and how quick that Red Bull car was despite not being the best car on the grid for the last half of the season, whereas Mercedes were, and they never really turned up that much at the end of the season, too much there. And the same goes for Renault, obviously. Remember, Renault dropped off massively last season, whereas this time around, they're right up there with Fernando, Alonso and Hamilton doing good work. But at the moment there, you can see I've lost about a few tenths there to Leclerc, so definitely some time to find actually compared to my teammate. So my teammate for now has done a better job. I'm in P11 as we've gone for our second flying lap. A lot of traffic though, it seems, on the minimap there and ahead of me there as we start our second flying lap then. Only about over a minute to go in the session. That Renault gets out of the way, but then we've got this Williams car. I think that is just ahead of us. This is going to be very annoying here as we go on the left-hander. He's going to get out of my way. I think he just about will do, yeah, so we get through, thankfully, but not what you need, really, because even if I don't lose too much time, it is mentally off-putting to have that much traffic ahead of us. And now, look at this, 3 wide on a qualifying lap there, down the back straight there, so not great timing from me, I guess, on the flying lap there. And that's what you get with short qualifying, a bit more traffic. So in a way, that's going to make qualifying a bit more interesting. Maybe you have to get the lap in when it counts here, with only about 2 or 3 attempts possible in this 15-minute session. So we come through now the last corner, then slinging this car through, open DRS, run to the line with hot lap mode and rich mix engage, or max fuel engage, I should say. And we get up into P8 then, just ahead of my teammate Leclerc in P9. So I'm happy with that. It seems like we matched my teammate quite well, and so we're just going to trundle back to the pits, and hopefully that's where we might end. So actually, compared to what I thought we were going to perform here in Australia, not too bad actually. P8, P9, I could accept that, and you know, with the points, the resource points we've got to rapidly improve our car that Alfa Romeo have invested in this team, I'm confident that we can take this car back to where we want it to be, where the team wants it to be. But looks like the Renault and Red Bulls are looking very strong, especially the 2 Renaults there. Hamilton on pole in his brand new surroundings there. So that's going to be quite a fiery fight for the race. But let's go to the grid then and see how we shape up for the race.
New drivers, new cars, and a new Formula One season. But it's the same Albert Park that we've come to know and love for more than 2 decades now that hosts the first round of a 21-race championship, taking us from here in Melbourne, Australia, across the globe before we eventually reach the season finale at Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi. Here's the track then, 16 corners, 6 to the left and 10 to the right. They make up the 3.3 miles around Albert Park Lake, with turn 1 and 3 providing the best opportunities to pass. I'm joined today in the commentary box, as I will be throughout this season, by a great racing driver, former F1 competitor, and who was world champion once upon a time as well, and an all-round top chap. It's the one and only Anthony Davidson. And tell me, here we are, first Grand Prix of the season, the first time racing these cars.
I just want to say it's a real privilege to be here, and I can't wait to see what this competitive field has in store for us this season. Now, to answer your question, obviously there's the question of performance in race trim, but really this is going to be all about reliability. It's the first Grand Prix of the season, don't forget. You're pushing all your new components to their limits. Formula One cars are full of very sophisticated but also very sensitive technology. So the most important thing today is to get to the end of the race, keep everything in good condition, and try to stay out of trouble while you're at it.
Let's have a look then at the starting grid. We have the opening round of Season 8 of my F1 2018 career mode. A great day in the office for both Renault guys as they lock out the front row. New man Lewis Hamilton in yellow on pole position alongside Fernando Alonso in second place. The reigning world champion Pierre Gasly alongside his new teammate Carlos Sainz in P4 for the second row. Vettel in P5 alongside Max Verstappen in the Mercedes. Myself in P7, Sergej Sorokin in P8 with Leclerc and Ricciardo rounding out the top 10. Van Dorn and Esteban Ocon next with Magnussen P13, Nico Hülkenberg down in disappointing P14, and then the second last row of the grid all Force India, with the last row reserved for Romain Grosjean and Kimi Raikkonen in his brand new Williams car. Let's go to the Australian Grand Prix. Right, so all in all, a pretty decent grid slot in P7 here in our car, and so now it's time to see what we can do in race trim. Strategy-wise, going to be a one-stop, apparently, default from the Ultras to the soft tyres. Remember, though, in the R&D reset, everyone's tyre wear would have been reset, and it depends on team to team if they decided to actually repurchase those tyre upgrades. We purchased an ultimate tyre upgrade, but not the other remaining ones, so I'm not too sure completely about our tyre wear. I guess we'll find out today, basically. If we have to abort the plan and go to a two-stop, that's what what we'll do later on, but for now we'll aim to do that, and let's just get into this then and see how we do on the opening few laps here. As we now go to 5 red lights for round number 1 of this brand new season. Season 8 of my F1 2018 career mode is underway as the lights are out. A lot of wheel spin for Verstappen there, and also the Red Bull cars up ahead, so we've got a good getaway there. Into turn 1 though, have a look around the outside, but just can't find the grip levels mid-apex to send one around the outside. Meanwhile, out in front, it's still Hamilton in first place. Alonso's gotten away well in second. Then the two Red Bulls are side by side, and Leclerc has a little bit of a look around my outside there for P7. But in the end, Sorokin, you can see in the top left, is overtaken him. The two Red Bulls still side by side, and also Sebastian Vettel and Verstappen there. Verstappen in new surroundings, but still hounding his drivers around him there. Similar way from last season. Verstappen and Vettel still at it there as we go through into Sector 2. The two Red Bulls have lined astern in P3 and P4 and are settling down now. I think that's Gasly, the reigning world champion, ahead of Carlos Sainz, but Verstappen is still fighting Vettel there, and these two are still neck and neck. A bit of contact made with the wall, in fact, from Vettel there, so these two do not want to give up. Obviously, Vettel probably reinvigorated with his brand new improved Ferrari car. All last season, he had to contend with the slowest car on the grid, so he's probably loving the Ferrari being this quick once again in the career mode. So on lap 1, we're just having pretty much a cinema viewing of these two fighting. I can't really do too much there. I'm just sat there in P7. So as we go on then through lap number 2, still Hamilton leads the way in first place there, leads that one too for Renault with his brand new yellow helmet here for season 8. Fernando Alonso in second place there in the other Renault. Then it's still P3 and P4 for the Red Bull Hondas. Gasly and Carlos Sainz. Will be interesting to see how Sainz matches up against Gasly there. Gasly obviously immensely on it last season with 8 wins. Let's see if he can do the same here. Looks like the Renaults though are going to give them a good old challenge in this first opening third of the season, I guess you could say. Meanwhile then, 5th place still Verstappen, 6th place still Vettel, myself P7 ahead of Sergei Sorokin, who I mentioned is probably going to enjoy being in this Toro Rosso, because the Toro Rosso for the last 5 seasons has been surprisingly pretty damn good, and is able to get some decent points there. So Sorokin, the Russian, still ahead of my teammate Leclerc in P8 there. So now we move on towards lap number 3, and we're still very much in range of Sebastian Vettel, but just can't quite get enough here on the straights to overtake him into turn 1. DRS now enabled though, so on the next lap it might be a little bit easier to overtake, but in turns 1, getting some time on the apex, but then on the exit, Vettel gets away a little bit, but you can see in a straight line, I am keeping up with him. Obviously our engine power is a lot better than the actual Works Ferrari team. They had one of the worst engines on the grid last year, and I doubt they've really improved too much for this season, but we have to wait until lap number 4 now. DRS available now. Into turn 1 though, Verstappen is actually a lot slower, and that holds up Vettel with some dirty air, and that is going to allow me to close up here. So even though Vettel has DRS, we have DRS, and a much faster car in a straight line. We're going to send one to the inside there. He invites the overtaking away, Vettel, by opening up the corner there on the right-hand side. Around the outside now of the left-hander there, jostling for position. Lift off a little bit to leave him some room, but we just about drift through the car. Up into now what is going to be P6 in this Grand Prix. Vettel now side by side as Sorokin has a bit of a look there. So the Russian having some opportunity maybe in the Toro Rosso Honda car to overtake the Ferrari. And Vettel already is now feeling some under pressure moments here from the Russian there. And I'm getting away and trying to chase after Verstappen there. So yeah, Vettel really was a bit of a bottleneck really. But Verstappen, as I said, helped me out there by going quite slow into turn 1 for some reason. But there goes Sorokin now around the outside. Can he make it go the long way around? No, not quite. Vettel just hangs on for now. And so Sorokin very slow off that corner. So will Leclerc have a chance? I don't know. Let's see into the next sector. It's a big lock-up from the Russian. And Leclerc is through down the inside. Ricciardo's also through. It's a bad mistake there from the new boy in the Toro Rosso. And he's down 2 positions and just ahead of his teammate Van Dorn in the other Toro Rosso. And Ocon so far struggling with the Ferrari just behind Van Dorn there on that shot. As we now move back to our POV on lap 7, chasing after Verstappen now a few laps later, and finally we're within DRS range and looking likely we could make an overtake pass, maybe into turn 1 or again into turns 3 like we did with Sebastian Vettel. Let's have a look as we go through the last few corners, just trying to keep as close as we can to the rear end of Verstappen really. We've got no obvious advantage on the Mercedes car in reality, especially in a straight line, but we've got DRS now as we go towards lap 8. No one ahead of Verstappen to give him DRS, so we have a good chance now into turn 1, gaining round the outside. We'll go for a little bit of a pop and a dive. Verstappen very tight on the apex, compromises his line, and on the exit we just about managed to find some room there as we made some narrow bit of contact, and Verstappen backs out of that as he's kind of scared off almost the racing line, as now we're up into P5, but a heap of clean air ahead of us there as the two Red Bulls and the Renaults are far away. But a bit of a mistake there on that right-hander you saw went quite deep, and so that's compromised my line, and Verstappen's got a great slingshot to the inside now before the high-speed chicane. Do we have the guts to send one round the outside and keep it there? Yes, we do, but we've massively compromised our line on the exit of the chicane there, and we're really slow compared to the Dutchman and also the German of Vettel, who's right up our chuff as well. Verstappen with the dive down the inside. We're going to have to go the long way around now. We're nearly off circuit there, narrowly missing the grass, and Verstappen gets very aggressive there, gets the elbows out, but we go the long way around once again. A bit of more contact there, so this is becoming a very hot and bothered fight between myself and Verstappen. More contact there as Verstappen just seems to want to get the elbows out and push us off the circuit here, so he's really wanting to keep this P5 there. Obviously quite a good position, best of the rest really, after the two Red Bulls and Renaults that are in the world of their own. We're nearly 3 abreast then to turn 1. Vettel tries to get it to the inside there, but instead has to look on as I go round the outside of Verstappen in the same place we did before, but now this time crucially we're side by side. He's got a good run and he has a good brake zone there on the right hander. Verstappen's given him the room, but now we're on the inside. Surely should be able to squeeze him out. Yes, we can, and we'll maintain that P5, and hopefully that will be the last after fight. Verstappen is now behind Leclerc with a great move round the outside of Sebastian Vettel, and what is usually flat out nearly in qualifying there. Leclerc, beautiful move there in the other Alfa Romeo racing car. Vettel though still got the nose in there, and there's a bit of a train forming now of Ricciardo, the two Toro Rossos, and Esteban Ocon, who is now in a Toro Rosso sandwich there. But these two, Leclerc and Vettel, teammates in real life in Ferrari in 2019. These two going side by side, having a ding-dong battle here. Alfa Romeo v Ferrari, and obviously in the last season Alfa Romeo was the top Ferrari powered dog in the career mode, and so far right now Leclerc's doing great because he's overtaken Vettel, and he's proven that once again in this career mode season, as we now come in to the pits on lap number 9. 1 lap earlier than Verstappen because he continues on. Vettel continues on as well, and indeed that entire train actually, so bit of a massive undercut for me, but hopefully it can work out there, as there should be a decent amount of clean air. And also my tyres were going off a fair bit. I definitely can tell the tyre wear is not exactly what it was last season, so going to have to look into that in terms of upgrade. That's going to be useful, I guess. You know, if we're trying to jump some people, try clever strategies, we're going to need some good tyre wear on the R&D tree. But we come out now, not exactly the amount of clean air I wanted to, as we come just about behind the Haas. The Haas goes off circuit a little bit, and we just about managed to go around the outside and get up into P17, and now we got some crucial clear air. So sorry about that, Grosjean, had to make that work, because otherwise I would have been stuck behind you probably for a good half a lap at least, as we now go across the line on lap 11. Leclerc, there he is there, making the pit stop 1 lap later. Verstappen, though, continues on for 1 more lap, so Leclerc is also going to get an undercut on Verstappen, so it'll be curious to see if Leclerc can do anything to try and catch up to Verstappen in the pit stop phase. We now try and close up on a Force India of Bottas, dive down the inside there, soft tyre v ultra soft tyre, but obviously our car a lot better than the Force India car, the Finn, and we're up into P15 now. Had to make that work, and also you saw that was a good example of how quickly we closed up on that Force India. So this car is still very good in the engine department, very good in straight line, and so it means we've got a very good race car. You know, as long as I can try and wrestle the car in the corners up the order, our engine should power us through and do well in the race. Obviously you saw it worked well for Leclerc, who got past Vettel, and now Leclerc goes round the outside of the Haas car to try and get right up the chuff of Verstappen. So let's see, could Leclerc now try and overtake Verstappen? That would definitely be a confirmation that our car is a pretty good race car if it's not a little bit slower in qualifying compared to the Mercedes and Ferrari. Leclerc maintains a position ahead of that Haas car, and Vettel is going to have to contend with that Haas later on as we move on through the Grand Prix. Here is Leclerc right up the chuff of Verstappen, then Vettel also in there, so it's a three-way fight potentially. Leclerc and Vettel with DRS in range here. Will they go for a late dive? Yes, he will. Charles down the inside of Verstappen then, so the two will do battle once again, and Leclerc around the outside of Verstappen there on the right-hand side. Verstappen, though, keeps his foot in there on the long right-hander and actually managed to get some lead now, and Leclerc's fallen away, but then it's going to be a huge dive from Leclerc to get back. So he saw how much Leclerc loved some dive bombs last season, season 7, and again, he's bringing them out there. He's just real late on the brakes compared to most of these drivers there, and again he does that again, but Verstappen has got the advantage there, it looks like, through the corners, and also the raw power off, and oh, I think there was a bit of contact, you know. I think that a bit of carbon fibre off Leclerc's front wing, so has Leclerc now got damage? I think Verstappen might have squeezed him with Vettel a bit too much there, and I think he grazed the wall or grazed something and had a bit of his front wing break off, because now Vettel is trying to have a look around the outside, and through that right-hander, Vettel, no, just about doesn't get it, but yeah, I think that is some front wing damage for Leclerc. But now Vettel, he tried the pop around the outside of Leclerc, doesn't work out, and now he's actually susceptible to his teammate, his brand new teammate, Esteban Ocon there, down the inside of the last corner the Frenchman goes. So far, I haven't seen too much of Ocon in this race. He's been getting to grips with his brand new Ferrari car, but now, neck and neck now into turn one. This is going to be a great little scrap there. Ocon, Vettel. Will Vettel get rustled by his younger teammate here like he has done in real life before with Ricciardo in the Red Bull days? Ocon on the right-hand side, Vettel on the left. These two still scrapping away, and this is going to be nervous times, I guess, for a River Bene on the pit lane wall as yellow flags are out for a car. I think is going to be over there on the left, on the right-hand side, sorry. The Force India has retired from this Grand Prix, and meanwhile, Ocon is still got it in, and he's got ahead of Vettel, but Vettel comes back, and they're still at it. A ridiculous fight, so much so, look how much time they lost to Leclerc on the track, and also Hülkenberg in the Mercedes car has got right up their chuff. There you go, Ocon, I think that is, ahead of Sebastian Vettel then. Yeah, Ocon's done it, and Vettel now is having to defend from Hülkenberg, so Vettel, question marks over him in this season, potentially being rustled by a younger teammate there. Meanwhile, Leclerc is going to try and once again close back up to Verstappen there, who's equally though closing up to me with 11 laps to go in this Grand Prix then. So Verstappen is now in our DRS range, so he might have a chance to overtake us. They were taking these tyres nice and easy because the tyre wear was quite bad at the end of the Ultrasoft stint, so I want to make sure I have enough tyre wear for them in this Grand Prix. That's going to allow Verstappen to close up now with DRS. We've got no DRS to defend with, just our pure pace into turn one, though we brake really late and get back into that P5 there just about across the apex, but again compromise our line doing that, and so Verstappen comes back at us there with that second bite of the cherry, unfortunately, of the DRS. Bit of contact made as Verstappen gets the elbows out there. He's on super softs, I might add, so I would assume, is he doing a two-stop? Surely he would be, unless the Mercedes tyre wear is really that great. But now this is a grand old scrap there, and Verstappen just gets ahead through that right-hander, had a bit of a drifting moment there, but Verstappen now locks up and makes a mistake equally, and we're back up into P5 there. So it's such a high-pressure race at the moment there that the mistakes are just coming out in full force here. So at the opening round of the season, these things happen, and speaking about that, I make a mistake as well now on the front right, and a bit of oversteer on the exit. It really is such a pressure cooker of a race at the moment here in this opening, in this middle stint here, as Verstappen goes round the outside. We squeeze him out though, and we maintain that position to the inside, and so much so that Leclerc, out of nowhere, has just overtaken Verstappen there. I think Verstappen went so wide in the far chicane that Leclerc just nipped down the inside there and got him. So kudos to him for being so opportunistic, and so he's up into P6 now. So this really is a very good position to be for our Alfa Romeo racing team in our first race as this new branded team in P5 and P6. But now until lap 23, Leclerc is the one now chasing after me, but the safety car is now going to be out, the full safety car, with only a few laps to go. So that's going to make a bit of a sprint race at the end of this Grand Prix then, and is going to allow us to bunch up a little bit. I don't think we'll have really, honestly, a chance to attack the Red Bulls or Renaults, because they're going to be too quick. But this does allow us to make an easy one-stop now, for sure. But I still don't know, Verstappen, if he goes to the end of the Grand Prix on these super softs, that's a really great one-stop for the Dutchman then in that German car, because that must mean the Mercedes tyre wear is very good indeed if he can make a one-stop work on super softs. But for us, I definitely didn't think we could do that, but at least now with the safety car, definitely can do on these soft tyres. So we now line up for the restart then. We've got a lot of traffic though ahead of us, so there's going to be plenty of blue flags, and that's going to be quite interesting on this opening lap when we go to green. Here we go, blue flag straight away on the top left out there on the heads-up display. So we go through the last turn. No DRS available yet, of course. We get some slipstream a little bit off the Williams car. Yellow flags as well behind us for some reason, but this is going to be quite something, and we're going to have to be very careful about where we stick our nose in here when we go through this traffic. And it's a really bad exit, actually, for me. It's a horrendous corner into turn one. I got on the curbing, and that spat me out there, and so Leclerc has a go around my outside. We go defensive on him, and unfortunately for the team, me going defensive on Leclerc allows Verstappen to get through, and we are going to just about make our way through the middle of the Williams and Haas car. That could have been very dangerous for our front wing off there, but in the background there I can see a whole heap of cars just bunched together in the traffic, and I think Leclerc has come off it worse as Verstappen down the top left is clearly up there in P6. So that's really unfortunate. I kind of almost sorry for that move with Leclerc, but I mean, he tried the move on the outside. I had to defend it, and in doing so, unfortunately, just made Verstappen kind of go down the inside and able to get that position. But I think something else went on there, because it looked like Leclerc got kind of bunched up behind some cars. As we now, oh my God, what on earth are you doing, Magnussen? We get caught up nearly behind Magnussen there and break our front wing. So let's have a look at a replay then and see this. So obviously Leclerc went round the outside there. You can see in the background Verstappen, that allows him to send one down the inside. Side by side, a great moment here as we go down the inside of the Williams and Haas. But as we focus back on Leclerc, he's on the outside here, and yep, he's going to get absolutely boxed in there by those blue flag cars. 3 abreast between Leclerc, the Ferrari. I can't tell which one is which though, but let's look at the replay there. You can see that damage on the front wing for Leclerc on the left-hand side, but here you go, boxed in completely with the Haas and the Merc, and then the Ferrari just waltzes through, and also the other cars are quite close. So Leclerc now has an absolute job to do, because he has to basically limp home to the end with front wing damage and everyone bunched up right behind him, whereas before the safety car there was a bit of room to breathe maybe. Meanwhile though, it's a 1-2 for Renault. Hamilton still in first place, Alonso P2, but not for too long. Hamilton very slow off the corner. Does he have an issue maybe? Is that an issue for Lewis Hamilton? Because Alonso closed up very rapidly there. DRS open also for the Spaniards, and he's up into P1 now of the Australian Grand Prix, and Hamilton is just going further back already through the first apex there, and I think now Gasly and Sainz might be sniffing some blood there. The 2 Red Bull Hondas, they've been P3 and P4 the entire Grand Prix, but now it's seemingly I think Hamilton has some sort of mechanical issue. That's such a shame for his first race in Renault. Meanwhile, myself still P5, Verstappen P6. Leclerc does well to train this entire gaggle of cars of Vettel, the 2 Toro Rosso cars, and the other McLaren and the Mercedes of Hülkenberg there, as Ocon chases after Verstappen and tries to pressurize him. Meanwhile, we cut back to this replay then, this shot of Hamilton then going very slow. There goes Gasly now round the outside, and the Frenchman, the reigning world champion, up into P2 of this Grand Prix, and Hamilton is so slow off that chicane that Carlos Sainz will now go down the inside, and Sainz will probably be thanking his lucky stars he's not in that Renault car anymore this season, because that could have been him instead. He's in the Red Bull Honda. That's now up into P3, and this is actually on the last lap of the Grand Prix, so that's pretty embarrassing in a way and quite humiliating for Renault to lose that like that. But Fernando Alonso will come across for the Renault win still, and so Alonso wins the first Grand Prix. Gasly P2, Sainz in P3, but Hamilton is going to be punching the air as he's in P4 from what was basically dominating the entire Grand Prix the entire time. But we come through in a very solid P5. I am very happy with that.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
So, another fantastic victory for Renault today. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
So all in all, a pretty solid day in the office, I would say. Unfortunate with Leclerc's damage. I think Leclerc definitely could have got P6 there, so that would have been a really solid 5-6 position for us. But, you know, these things happen sometimes in racing, of course. But, yeah, good day in the office for Fernando Alonso then, and really unlucky for Lewis Hamilton. But he's still P4, so you can't complain too much. And so at the end of that then, with the constructors, obviously the drivers were the same as the race was ran. Constructors, though, were in 3rd place then, ahead of Mercedes and Ferrari. Obviously, Red Bull and Renault clearly are the 2 top teams for now. But like I said, the performance chart, 8 seasons in, isn't completely accurate, so it seems like we have a bit more pace than what it seemed like. But at the same time, Australia is a very different track to Bahrain. I'll be interested to see how we do the next round, but I think we have a good foundation, and with the 4,000 points, I think we have good scope to really improve and rapidly improve, obviously, with this cash injection we have. And so speaking about that, we're going to look into already doing the maximum upgrades we can do going to the next race. Now, my contract allows me for 3 simultaneous upgrades per department, so I can do 3 aero and 3 chassis at a time, basically. So we're going to go for that and go the full hog. So we're going to go for 2 minor upgrades on the aero to start off with. The minor on the front and the minor on the rear. Those will only take 1 week, so both those will come in straight away for Bahrain. And then the major drag reduction update there in the middle. That will take 2 rounds, so that will come at China. So we'll have 2 aero updates for next episode, and then 1 more for China lined up. And then for the chassis side of things, do the minor on the weight reduction straight away at the very beginning of the tree. Get get that cheap one out of the way. And then also looking at the minor tyre upgrade, because the tyre wear wasn't too great around Australia. I could definitely feel on the Ultras we're going to need some upgrades on that kind of side of things. And then also the major weight reduction there, that's going to take 2 races. So all in all, we have 4 upgrades coming for next episode, 2 chassis, 2 aero, and then a further 2 already lined up for the Chinese Grand Prix in round number 3 of this season. So already spent a good amount of that 4,000 there, but positive signs, and you can see hypothetically by the end of China already leaping towards on the performance chart on paper to where Ferrari are. So that's positive steps forward here beginning of our season. But that was a very enjoyable first episode of this running Grand Prix. If you guys did enjoy it as well, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, do subscribe for weekly F1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoyed the day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.